Shall we?
Do it.
All right. I'm just gonna, well, I don't need to share my screen for this. I can just get started. Okay, countdown from 10, 9.
Just go.
Cool. Hi, Shabrish. Okay, cool. Well, thank you all so much for joining. When Alina and Dan and I were sitting together and discussing how to approach this webinar and what we're going to be talking about, we had one golden rule, and that was how can we give you guys something that you can start implementing today? So every time we put in a slide, we check with ourselves, is this practical? Is this doable? Can we explain it properly? So here we are. Within the next hour, you will be able to see if we were successful in what we set out to do. My name is Naeem Parvez, and I'm the co-founder of Digitalina, and I'm happy to host today's webinar, which is simply to answer one question: SEO or SEM? Which one is better for your business? So we'll talk about a lot of fun things, but in summary, we're going to give you a start by giving you a thorough explanation of all things SEO. Then Dan's going to show you some cool online tools like Ubersuggest to conduct your high-level keyword research. And he's going to show you how to hack your backlinks as well. So some easy tips that you can try out yourself. Alina is going to share her top 3 hot tips to get more clicks on your Google Ads versus your competition. And she's also going to show you something that's kind of outside the box with some Google keyword planning hacks. And we'll then end off with a summary of the key differences between SEO or SEM, and you'll be able to make a decision by the end of it. So if you're a complete beginner with this topic, don't worry, we have you in mind. If you're an intermediate level with SEO and SEM, you should still find this useful and hopefully you get some aha moments. However, if you're advanced level, by now you're probably hosting your own webinars. So I'm hoping there are no super duper mega advanced people in the crowd. If you have questions along the way, keep dropping them. Actually, don't drop them in chats. We're going to have a Q&A session right at the end of this, and we're going to dedicate at least 15 minutes. And more so, if it gets more exciting, we'll stick around for more. But yeah, we will have a combined Q&A session right at the end of both the presentations. So make sure to stick around for that. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for today. That's Dan Foley. Dan is the CEO of Tailored Inc., which is a boutique award-winning writing agency with offices in New York and Dubai. He and his team craft highly specialized content, employing writers who are experts in the field of finance, healthcare, tech, real estate, travel, you name it. Writing is such an important part of SEO, and Dan will tell you about that. And with his level of experience, I'm super excited to have him talk here today. So let me pass it on to Dan. Dan, welcome.
Hi, everyone. Naeem, thanks so much for the intro. Guys, SEO is a really complicated thing, or so it seems. In reality, it's actually not so bad. It comes down to following a few basic ideologies and just making sure it sticks. Just a little bit of background on me, though, before we get started. My background is in writing, as previously said, and I started out as a travel writer and a food writer when I was living abroad and moved to New York and continued to do the same. And eventually, my partner and I started a writing agency. And the foundation of that was really, really good content, really strong wording. But that's ultimately a lot of good marketing comes down to the wording. And the wording is basically SEO. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to start with a very, very basic introduction to it, and then we'll start to get more and more advanced as we go on. But without further ado, let me share my screen, and I'll take you guys down this road a little bit. All right, can everyone see my screen right now? Nice. Okay, so here is a quick overview of SEO. What is SEO and why should you care? So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. Now, what does that actually look like? What does that mean? All it really is where you rank on Google. So let's say I've got a BMW and I want to get it fixed. I might type in something like BMW garage Dubai. Now I get my results. these ads up here, anything with an ad next to it, this is not SEO. Alina will be talking about this, but these are paid ads. They cost money to get up there. As soon as the ads start disappearing, you start getting organic search results. This is what SEO is. So you have BMW Service Dubai, you have BMW Dubai.com, you have Orange Auto, and so on. So SEO is basically the process of, why do these guys get ranked in this order? Why are these guys on page 1 or even position 1 and not on page 6 or 7? What's their secret sauce and how do you get up there? Now you might be asking yourself, well, does it really even matter if I'm there? And the answer is it does. It actually matters quite a bit. So this graph kind of shows you why SEO is important. If you'll notice, these are the positions on Google on the bottom, and this is the amount of clicks. If you notice, the very first position on page 1 is super duper high, and you see a massive drop off on positions 2 through 9. Then position 10 is even lower. And then once you start getting on to page 2, which starts right here, it basically flattens out and you're fading into obscurity. The point of this is that at the end of the day, your search results really, really matter. And being on page 1, and especially in position 1, is a total game changer. So what does SEO get you? Why do you want to be in position 1? It's all about return on investment, right? If you are the first term or in the top page, you will see the following things: warm leads, conversions, downloads, awareness, adoption, and credibility. These are the things that SEO can get you, and this is why it actually matters. So the beauty of SEO is you get real tangible results. The only thing about SEO that you need to keep in mind is it takes time. While ads are instantaneous, SEO is a gradual process. But the beauty is once you start ranking for things, you're solidified in that position and it's really tough to dethrone you. Now, let's talk about how did all these BMW shops get on top of Google? It really boils down to 2 things: keywords and backlinks. And we're going to start with keywords because I think it's more interesting and also more important. So identifying the right keywords. What are keywords? Anytime someone publishes content to the internet, Google reads it, and it reads it using these things called spiders. These spiders crawl over your content and they look for getting the right keywords for each piece. Now, Google is smart. It can get the idea of a piece, even if your keywords are tangentially related or not exact. But that still means that having the right keywords makes Google's job easier and gets you in there faster. Now, what they basically do is they evaluate your content versus the other guy's content and sees, well, who's better, who's more relevant. So it's ranked in terms of quality, relevance, and how much it stacks up against the competition. What does that look like? 3 things. You've got volume, difficulty, and relevance. Now, again, this might sound really complicated, but at the end of the day, it makes a lot of sense. Volume is how many people are searching for your keyword, right? It's a volume play. If you have a lot of people searching for it, that's a really good thing, and you're going to rank high for that. But you're not the only show in town. There's also difficulty. How many other people are trying to get the keywords that you're trying to get? And then last, those 2 are kind of more sciencey. The last one is more art, which is relevance. How much does your keyword actually matter? This is also called search intent. Now, I know all of this seems kind of, esoteric, like what does this actually look like? Let's take a look. I want to show you how you could get started right now, right after this webinar, and start doing your own SEO research. You don't need anyone to do this. You can do this completely on your own. And it's free too, which is the best part. So Ubersuggest is a free keyword tool pioneered by marketing legend Neil Patel. Basically, it helps you do simple keyword analysis. It's not as robust as some other systems, but it gets the job done and can do some basic stuff. Let's do a live look at it right now. So this is Ubersuggest. This is what it looks like. Now, you might be a little overwhelmed when you first see it, but I'm going to really narrow it down and make it super simple. Basically, we're just going to focus on this little area right here. And we're only going to focus on 3 of the columns. We're going to focus on the keyword, the volume, and this, which is the keyword difficulty, the SEO difficulty. Now, these 2 things, CPC and PD, Alina can cover those. But just for sake of argument, this is a tool where you type in something like BMW garage, and you see what these keywords are like. How hard are they to get? So here we've got a bunch of different variations of the keyword. We've got BMW garage door opener, BMW garage near me, BMW garage sign. Now, if you look at the volume, it's listed in terms of descending volume. So the more volume that you're getting, the better off you are, right? The more people are searching this. Side note, you might say 590 people, that doesn't sound like a lot of people. I'm a firm believer that this is actually a factor or 2 below. I believe that it's probably about a factor of 100 below. It's about 59,000 people are searching this every month. It seems unlikely that only 590 people in the US are searching BMW garage. And there's a lot of debate about this online, but basically anything over 100 is probably worth your time. And depending on how niche your subject is, even lower than that can work out as well. Now, the other thing to focus on is this, which is keyword difficulty. Basically, this is how hard is it to rank against everyone else? The lower the number, the better off that you are. So think about it this way. If you're on a low scale, if you're in the green categories here, you're going to have an easier time, especially if you're like a 7, right, versus a 27. But as you start getting into things like 44, it starts getting yellow and eventually turning into red with some of the very hard keywords. So it's best to try to avoid the harder keywords and go for the easy ones with the high volume. So these are 2 of the metrics, right? Let's go high volume, low keyword difficulty. So BMW garage door opener would be perfect, except this is where the art of it comes in. Oh no, I'm looking for a repair shop, not a garage door opener. I don't care about that. And this is where you need to kind of think about it. This is where the analysis comes in. So if you're trying to rank for BMW garage, you might end up getting people looking for a garage door opener, which is a waste of your SEO traffic. So looking at this stuff can also help you think, well, actually, maybe I should go for a better keyword. One that might be worth checking out, for instance, is if we did BMW repair shop. Now, it sounds similar, but look at how different it is. You have a volume that's triple or quadruple what you were going for before with a kind of similar keyword difficulty. So maybe your efforts would be better going off after BMW repair shop or even BMW repair shop near me. So that's kind of the scope of, that's the baseline SEO research. That's all it really is. It gets more complicated and more nuanced, but from a high level perspective, that's how you start to realize what keywords are actually good to look for. And you can go down this rabbit hole and find some really, really good things. Now, there's also this thing called Sem Rush. It's a little bit more advanced of a tool. And when you start getting into this, I mean, this is what we use for our own analytics and for our companies. We recently did a project with the Swiss Tourism Board, and we actually did it in Arabic, which was a lot of fun. I don't speak Arabic myself, but my employees do. And they were able to ascertain how these keywords rank. They were able to create wonderful content in Arabic. And we were able to basically put this from non-existence into page 1 or page 2 in just a couple of months. Now, you can see that with these advanced analytics, you can track some things in really robust ways. And you can also see that over time, things tend to get better. This is after about 2 or 3 months worth of work. SEO tends to maximize its effectiveness in about 6 to 12 months or even 2 years. So it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. Once you put that content out into the SEO universe, it starts paying back, and it keeps paying back over and over and over again. There's only one other thing that you really need to do when it comes to SEO, and that is backlinking. So backlinking your way to victory. What are backlinks and why do I need them? So backlink is basically a link that goes to your website from another website. So imagine Wikipedia is the perfect example. Wikipedia has one of the best backlinking strategies ever because everyone references them. Same thing with Mayo Clinic or WebMD or any of these big sources. Everyone takes those links and brings them back to themselves. Now, why does that matter? Well, it matters because that lets Google know that you are a credible website. So this SEO juice kind of comes from these credible websites to you and says, this is a site that you can trust. This is how they establish what's called domain authority, which is this fancy term that just basically means how serious is your website? Can we trust it? Now, one of the best ways to get backlinks quickly is to use websites with a really high domain authority. And you might say, well, I don't know any of those, but you do. Actually, a really quick way to get a lot of backlinks to your website is using websites like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, anything that you can where you can easily set up a profile, get a backlink to your website, and all of a sudden that gives you immense credibility on Google because they say, oh, this looks real. So that's a really quick tip. And honestly, the more the merrier when it comes to those good websites. But you don't want to just get backlinks from anywhere. It actually ends up being a waste of your time. A good way to check if it's actually a credible use or credible website is using the Mozbar extension, where you can evaluate how good a website is. Actually, just recently, and by recently, I mean, I think like 3-4 days ago, John Miller is one of Google's big guys, and he just said that the total number of backlinks simply doesn't matter. It's all about quality backlinks. So go for good websites, try to get backlinks. One of the things that we've done for our own website, Tailored Inc., is my partner and I have been featured on a lot of websites like Forbes or Entrepreneur, Business Insider. Any of these big name websites will give you some serious SEO traction if you can break into those. So that's a great strategy as well. So in summation, basically, if you do really good keyword research and you create content that has good backlinking, this gets you leads. This gets you all that warm, good SEO energy that you're looking for. And this is why content really, really matters. You become an authority, you draw in organic leads, you build out a content calendar that's based in all of these great ideas, and you can start really dominating your search on Google and bring a whole new channel of revenue and lead generation and awareness to your company. So that's kind of it in a nutshell from me. That's the SEO side of things. I'll be around to answer questions afterwards. But now Alina is going to show you the other side of it with SEM.
Okay.
Yeah, you're muted.
Okay, cool. It's funny, I lost my Zoom window. I can't find it on my computer. But thanks so much for that, Dan. I think you've given away some really powerful techniques away for free here. I really like the way you're able to show that the tools to us in real time as well. I'm sure the audience appreciated that. And having said that, I'm sure there's burning questions as well. One of the things that we wanted to give you guys, the audience, was a quicker time in presenting so we can have more time for Q&A. I think that was perfectly done. Dan, thanks so much. Before we move on to the next part, he's going to be sticking around for the Q&A session, and I'll also be sharing his contact details so you can reach out to him directly, which is a good time to talk about our next speaker, Alina. What can I say about her? She's the founder and CEO of Digitalina. And I'm a little biased, but I think she's the best advertiser I know. Just a few years ago, she was freelancing by herself. And today she's running a 6-figure boutique advertising agency. I've seen that transformation myself, guys, and she's deserved that success. So she's currently helping clients get more customers using Facebook and Instagram, Google, and YouTube ads. She helps customers in the service businesses as well as e-commerce too. So I could talk about her forever. Without further ado, here's Alina.
Hi guys, how's it going? Thanks so much for showing up. It's really nice to see so many familiar faces here from our old course. So welcome back. I love having you guys in chat again. My old students will also know that I feel a bit crazy when I talk to a screen by myself without interaction. So I'm going to ask you questions along the way. Please feel free to engage in the chat and talk to me. We'll just get some feedback. Makes it a little bit more fun. So without much further ado, let's get into it. Before I do start, just type in the chat and let me know, are you running Google Ads right now? Yes or no? It just sort of helps me gauge before we get going as well. In the meantime, I am going to share my screen just like Dan did. And
Anjali says yes, Shabri says yes, Maria no.
Okay, awesome.
There's a lot of yeses.
Lots of yeses? Okay, great. So we're gonna have a lot of good Q&A if you guys are already running Google Ads. Okay, can everyone see my second screen? It should show the Google search engine result page. You can see it. Okay, amazing. So guys, we're going to start off talking a little bit about what SEM is and how it differs to SEO before we get into some tips. So first off, I want to clarify that SEM stands for search engine marketing, and it is also known as PPC or pay per click, and also known as Google search ads. So you may have heard a lot of those terms floating around. They all mean the same thing. And the reason it's called pay per click is because that's the great thing with Google Ads is you are only paying when someone actually clicks on your ad. That's what I love about it versus, let's say, Facebook or Instagram, where you're actually paying per impression. So even if people don't click and people are just seeing it, they get charged. Google Ads, it's great. It's only pay per click. So if you can see my screen right now, Dan already did a great job at sort of just outlining the difference here between ads and organic results. But I wanted to point out one other thing in addition to, so you see this ad notation. That's how you can tell it's a Google ad. But the other thing you're going to notice is that there's more bells and whistles with an ad versus an organic listing. So let's say we go to an organic listing, all these ones over here, you see that it sort of just shows this one descriptive headline, and then there's just one sentence, maybe two afterwards. It's just a meta description or intro text for that website. Whereas when you are using an ad, you actually can have these other things here too, like deal, 20% off car service contract. You kind of have this extra real estate here too, showing special offers or our services. This other company is actually showing their phone number as well. There's a lot of different extensions and things that you can add on to occupy more real estate and just have more promotional sort of call outs and extensions, which is the cool thing about Google Ads. And of course, the other cool thing is that it shows on top. I mean, if you're paying, Google's going to make sure that you are actually being shown here on top before the other ones. And also research shows that most people will actually just click. Here, there's actually not too many ads. Sometimes you have pages that have quite a lot of ads, but people will mostly click on the top 1 to 3. So that's sort of where you want to get as well. So that is the difference between Google Ads and SEO on a surface level. They're both showing up on the search engine results page. They're both leveraging keywords, but the difference is that this is paid and SEO is free. Now, let's talk about some of the more strategic differences. And I'm just going to flip to my slides here. Here's what I feel are some of the key benefits. So the first one is that with SEO, as Dan had mentioned, it can take many years, not many years, let's say many, many months, right? It can take a minimum of 6 to 8 months for you to actually see the results of SEO. It could take up to 2 years. But with Google Ads, you can sort of get that speed right away. You can become more visible in the market and get awareness with running Google Ads. So you may not show up on page 1, let's say, for a couple of years, but if you're running Google Ads, you have a chance of being shown on the first page immediately. So similarly, as mentioned here with speed, you basically have more visibility right from the get-go if you have good ads. Number 3, What I really love about SEM versus SEO is how much control you get in terms of who is viewing your content. Because with SEO, let's say we take the BMW garage example, right? Let's say there's a lot of content that you've put out for the BMW garage. You don't have control over exactly who is seeing it. You can't control if your ideal target market is going to come across it. For the most part, you're probably going to encounter the right type of people, but let's say you want to target exactly men, you want to increase your sales from men from a certain age range and a certain location, you can do that with Google Ads. You can control those factors of exactly what location or demographic you're going to be targeting. And you can completely control the messaging or the promotions that you want to put out. So that's what I really like about Google Ads. The fourth thing is that it is really, really good for testing ideas fast. If you want to test out certain keywords and know if those keywords are working for you and getting clicks, you can do that pretty quickly with a split test in a month or two, right? And see what those results are like. With SEO, you're going to have to wait a long time to sort of see, okay, well, which one is working for us better in terms of a return. And lastly, what I really like about SEM versus SEO is that you have the ability to track ROI a bit more directly. I know you can, of course, track your ROI with SEO, but you're waiting quite a while. And I mean, Dan can maybe speak to this in the Q&A as well. It's a little bit more complicated in terms of directly attributing your results to SEO. But with Google Ads, it's much easier to attribute, right? You can put, if you put in $100 with Google Ads, how many conversions you got out of that? Well, how many purchases did this specific ad get? Okay, I put in for every dollar, I made $2 or $3. Great. What was my cost per click, my cost per purchase? What was my return on ad spend? You can see that and measure it much more quickly. So hope that makes sense. Let me know in the chat if that is making sense to you guys, if you're having some aha moments. That would be great to know. Okay, let's go ahead now just to the tips. So the first tip that I want to show you, this was actually the bonus tip that Naeem was talking about, this extra hack. I want to show you guys right up front what it is, because I think it's something that's so often overlooked. And it's really going to help you guys when you're doing keyword research for your ads. Who here has Google Keywords Planner or is using it? So I guess all of you who have your Google Ads running, are you using Google Keyword Planner? Are you using Sem Rush? Are you using something else? Let me know in the chat what you are using while I pull this up. Yes, Abrish, Keyword Planner. Okay, Keyword Planner tool. Cool, awesome. So here I have my Keyword Planner. So I use this or Sem Rush for the most part. I usually just use Keyword Planner, to be honest, since I'm just using Google Ads Manager quite often. And when you are starting off with your keyword research, you go to discover new keywords. And this is what I find most people do. And I would love to know after this if you are doing the hack already, but I find a lot of people miss it. So let's say here you're typing in BMW garage, BMW Dubai, BMW repair garage. I don't know. You type in all these keywords and you just want to get more ideas. You've selected the UAE. You say, okay, show me results. And it's going to show you results over here. I usually like filtering straight away by volume, and you'll see I have these ideas. So I may make a note of these. I'll say, okay, cool. These are somewhat relevant. Some of them BMW pre-owned, Dubai, cool, BMW showroom. Not too many things for an actual garage here showing up. And I might get a bit disheartened, right? I might be like, okay, for BMW garage, I think this is probably the most relevant one, and it's only showing 90. Everything else is sort of for sale. And I may stop at that. I may type in all these different variations, but then I sort of stop there. Now, what a lot of people don't do, go back a quick second, go to discover new keywords, and instead start with a website. So this gives you a lot more out of the box ideas that you may not have thought of, and you don't have to just start with your own website. What I like to do is to look at top competitors who are showing up over here. So let's say you have quickfitautos.com. Let me type that in, www.quickfitautos.com. And this will basically scrape their website and based on that give keyword suggestions. And then suddenly here, if I filter it again this way, it's giving me so many more new ideas that I may not have thought of. So here I was in my head, just thinking about BMW garage, and I hadn't thought of, oh, but there's so many searches for AC repair. Oh, actually, that's AC repair. Sorry, let me see if there's something more related to cars. So here you go.
The
Audi repair.
cars AC.
Yeah, oh, it is the car's AC, right? Yeah, so AC servicing, then maybe for car, brake pads. Oh, there we go. Car AC repair near me. That's something I may not have thought of. So that is relevant. Well, this one may not be car AC repair near me. I had no idea to think of that. What else? I kept saying BMW garage, but there's BMW repair Dubai as well. So it's just, it gives you so many more ideas and opens the world up to you a bit more, and just type in lots of different websites, all your top competitors, okay? So is that new for anyone? Let me know in the chat if that is something that you weren't actively doing. New, yay, I love it. As long as it's new for some people, that makes me happy. Okay, cool. Now let's go to tip number 2. Okay, so that was for your keyword planning. Let's talk a little bit. Oh, actually, sorry. I wanted to go back one quick second. To help you guys out, what I look at over here, not only am I looking at relevancy and volume, I will be looking at competition as well. And then this is your estimated cost per click as well. So you can see what it's going to cost for it to be higher on the page or lower on the page. So keep those factors in mind too. What I do then is just select the keywords that are interesting to me. I export it all in a CSV, and then I filter in order of volume, and then I usually like highlight different opportunities and make short lists and cull from there. Okay, back to tip number 2. So let's look at a live example for this. So we're going to talk about how to make your Google Ads stand out from everybody else's, okay? The first thing you're going to do before anything else is research your competition. And how are you going to do that? Let's go back to the slide. You just type in BMW garage, if that's what you are, and look at the type of Google ads out there, okay? And analyze their headlines and see what people are doing. To be honest, I don't think a lot of people have a very strong Google ad game for some reason, especially in this market. Some people are great at it. Some, I think, unfortunately lack some creativity. So, you know, here it says BMW repair and service after BMW garage. Cool, nothing too crazy. It's not standing out to me. Since 1980, okay, they sound established. This one, I think, stands out more to me. Whenever you use numbers and percentages, that really works well. In headlines, they're saying save up to 70% off compared to dealers. But now think, if your ad were to turn up here, how can you get the click compared to these? So don't just do what they're doing. Think about, how will I get my click? So to me, an idea that comes to mind is, well, what if you offer a discount on the first minor service that someone comes in for? So you could also say BMW garage in Dubai, 50% off your first service with us. If I'm a new customer, I'm immediately going to click on that. I'm going to say, oh man, these guys are offering 50% off first service. Cool. And I'm going to go with that one. So think about ways that you can highlight or how you can grab attention. Now with your headline, again, this is what we just talked about, what sets you apart. In your description is where you want to highlight your top features and your benefits. Again, things that would make you stand out. So maybe it could be things like you offer maybe free pickup and drop off for your car repairs. Do you have X agency technicians on board? Do you use genuine parts, the best oils? You want to talk about those things. And now what I have found, especially, so this is more for anyone who's doing services versus products, I think lead generation campaigns work much better on Google for service versus just directly clicking to the website and trying to track calls or get conversions that way. Drive it to a specific landing page, which is giving an offer, like get 50% off your first service, give us your details, then have that specific call to action in your Google Ads that says, get it now or whatever, like download your voucher, and they click through to that page. And my bonus tip to prevent wasting your money on people who aren't worth it in terms of clicks is to add a bit of a pre-qualifier in your Google ad. So usually a pre-qualifier is price. So if you know that you are a premium higher end repair garage, then you might want to say minor service starting from 1,000 dirhams or from 750. So it prevents or dissuades anyone who's, let's say, looking for the 200 dirham service from clicking on it. They're like, oh, if they're starting from prices 1,000, I can't afford that. I'm not going to click on it. It won't waste your money and your time. Okay. Hope that is helpful. Okay. All right, so next let's go on to this tip that I love because it saves people so much money. Guys, this is pay-per-click, okay, Google Ads. And you are gonna have a lot of random people clicking on your ads sometimes who are not your right customer, and you can waste your money and your budget really, really fast if you're not careful and you don't add negative keywords. So is anyone using negative keywords right now? Let me know in the chat. Or tell me if it's new to you. Let me know, get a gauge and a gut check. But essentially, when you are running a Google ad, you not only want to type in the keywords you want to show up for, you want to write the keywords you do not want to show up for, okay? And these are some of the categories that you want to consider. And you can find big lists on Google for this too. So first category of negative keywords you don't want to use is people who are bargain hunters. Okay, so if you are a premium garage, you do not want anyone typing in very cheap BMW repair or very cheap BMW garage. If you haven't added in the cheap negative keyword and you are targeting BMW garage, that person's going to click on that ad. So make sure you avoid words like free, cheap, discount, affordable. You'll stay away from those people. Number two, you want to stay away from any keywords where people are just doing some research. Okay, there's a lot of students out there. There's a lot of people in training, people trying to put reports together. Maybe it's just someone, this is a university student, okay, American University of Dubai, who's doing a case study on BMW auto shops or BMWs. They might type in BMW garage, I don't know, case study or something if they're trying to write a business plan or put something together for school. So you want to avoid that. The third, which is so important, especially in a place like Dubai or the UAE, is any keywords that indicate a job seeker. Okay, because then you're going to get all those people filling out your forms too. When you ask them, you know, looking for a job, you're like, God damn it, I just spent money on this person. So you want to add on words like salary, resume, career. So all those types of things that indicate someone's just trying to do some research and get some jobs. So BMW job openings, garage job openings, someone's just looking for a job at a garage. You also want to stay away from keywords that say things like definition or example or sample. So, you know, someone could be looking at, I don't know, I'm not very technical, but someone could say BMW, what's a technical term?
You're asking the wrong
guy. It's not into cars.
But like carburetor or
carburetor,
something like,
yes.
You know,
I don't know what a
or
carburetor
setting,
is,
yeah.
but you know, BMW or carburetor definition.
Yeah.
Something where someone is just researching and trying to
Or
find
like,
out more
what's the
information.
full form of BMW?
Yes,
you know, like,
exactly. Like, yeah, BMW abbreviate like full form.
which is, by the way, Bavaria Motorworks.
Is it Bavaria Motorworks? I didn't know. Okay, so you want to stay away from that. But on Google, if you type in negative keyword lists, some people have put together those lists already for you. Literally copy and paste and throw those in. They will apply to full people, to most people. Okay, negative keywords, gut check with you guys. Any aha moments here? Are you using them? Lavisa is saying always using well-researched. Karen, yeah, I'm always checking the same search terms to filter out negative keywords. Amazing, amazing. Okay, good. Awesome, guys. Good. I see some of you are already doing this, which I love. Now, my third tip is to use, or rather, this is the fourth tip. Sorry, my numbering is incorrect here. But the fourth tip, guys, and it's my final one, is to use ad extensions. Okay, so what is an ad extension? Let's go over here. An ad extension is essentially, so with Google Ads, they will limit you in terms of characters, right? They'll say you can have, I think, 3 short headlines, about 30 characters each, I believe, and then you can have 2 descriptors that are about 90 characters each, and then that's it. So this is a way for you to add on more text and say more things when you use an ad extension in Google AdWords. And there's lots of different types, and I'll go through them. But essentially why it's important is not only does it improve your quality score with Google Ads, so you're likely to then be ranked higher, okay? It takes up more real estate. Look at this guy, he's hogging the top. He has so much more space than them. I'm paying way more attention to him because he's got these 2 site link extensions at the bottom as well. Okay, so you want to use as many as possible and take up a lot of space. Let's go back to the slide. Okay, so these are some of my 3 top ones. Promotional call out extensions are really short, so you don't get a lot of space for them, but it's a good way of just throwing in extra things that you think will help, like free shipping, refunds accepted, cancel anytime, 50% off first-time users. That might be too long, but ships worldwide, whatever it is, just call it out in the promo text, like thousands of happy customers, 5-star reviews, established since 1980, whatever it is, okay? It gets more across. Then there's structured snippets, which come at the end. I don't think anyone was using it over here. These guys are using site link extensions, but they would essentially show up underneath here too. And it's whenever you see variants of something. So let's say you were, even for, let's say, BMW Garage, if you wanted to highlight all the different cars that you service, then you could put that underneath there. If you are just a European auto repair company, you can list all the brands there. So Audi, Porsche, blah, 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 so that someone knows that they cater to your brand of car. Let's go back to the slides. The last one is site link extensions, which is probably the most powerful one. And this essentially allows you to click to different landing pages on your website, and you can take up a lot of room here. So this is a site link extension. Okay, you could use more than this if you wanted to. So you can highlight special offers and then write a description, services. So some common ones that people usually like seeing are things like testimonials, contact us, different service categories. So if I'm in auto repair or if I'm a body shop, I'd want to say maybe detailing, servicing. What else are car things? What are painting, bodywork, denting? I should know more about cars. So, those are different categories that you can have and that people can drive to. And again, it just takes up so much space. So you want to use site link extensions. And you can see here, some people are using call extensions as well. You can include your phone number. Some people use location extensions. These, no one is over here, but play around with that in Google Ads. You can definitely take up more space. And for my final slide, guys, the big question becomes, well, what should you be using for your business? Now, the answer is it depends. And the second answer is probably both. if you're serious about your business. I don't think anyone should be ignoring SEO because, as Dan said, it's cumulative in nature. You're building, you put that effort in now, it's like a seed that you're sowing now that's just going to reap more and more benefits and blossom into this gigantic cherry blossom tree, okay, later on. And I see Dan is vigorously nodding, that's great. So SEO is great for long-term growth and you should be doing it, but SEM is really, really great for just getting that visibility and exposure fast. If you are not turning up on the first page of Google and you have so many competitors right now, it's going to take you a long time. Put some Google ads out, get some awareness and exposure, drive fast traffic, test keywords, test offers. Okay, it may be your chance of just getting noticed right now with the right people. Okay, some other things to keep in mind is sometimes if a paid keyword is very expensive, okay, when you are on Uber Suggest or in Google Ads and you see that the cost per click for something is ridiculous, it's like 30 dirhams or 40 dirhams, something is really, really competitive, look at the keyword difficulty for SEO, and if it makes sense, because sometimes you'd be surprised, they'll be different, you can try working on that for SEO and say, okay, I'm not going to focus on this for a keyword, for Google Ads, I'm going to build a strategy around this for SEO. On the other flip side, if an organic keyword is really, really hard to rank for, it's near impossible, you may want to try SEM out. Okay, if the paid difficulty is lower and this SEO difficulty is higher, you may want to just try out SEM, because some things, and I don't know, maybe Dan can speak to this later on, are going to be near impossible to compete with the big guys on and get yourself on the first page ever, depending on the industry that you are in. And then the last thing I would say is consider your margins and the lifetime value of a customer when you're using Google Ads. So for services and high-end services, Google Ads pretty much always makes sense, especially for B2B, because you're charging something higher ticket. For products, if you're selling very low ticket items, you may want to turn more to Google Shopping ads, and Google Shopping ads are, you know, the one, actually, let me just show you right now, Google Shopping ads. Let's type in pink handbags. There you go. This is a Google Shopping ad, right? And this is what most people will be using for e-commerce because it's just more visual in nature for products. It's more automated. It's great. This is what we're using for our e-commerce client for the most part. So think about your margins when it comes to Google ads for products. In some situations, it may make sense if you have a lot of margin. Other times, I think just run more with shopping ads and that'll do the trick. So that's it from my end. Thank you guys for hanging around with me. I'll pass it back to Naeem and we'll probably start with the Q&A.
All right. Do you want to unshare your screen?
Yes, I will unshare my screen. Okay.
Cool. All right. Let me just give it a second here. See, I lose my Zoom again.
You lost your Zoom? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well,
can I play
back.
host? Okay.
Oh, it's back. Just a second here.
We'll get some questions in the meantime.
Yeah.
I think this one's for you, Dan. There's one from Anjali saying, how can we monitor SEO considering it takes 6 to 12 months? How do we check if we're on the right track and what are the KPIs to check?
So one of the things that you'll find is that you're not going to see any results within usually the first 2 weeks to a month. This is one of the big problems with doing SEO yourself is you might feel like you're shooting in the dark. However, using a tool like Sem Rush, which is a little bit more advanced, gives you the ability to track keywords over time. The way I pulled up that Swiss tourism example is a perfect example of that. And essentially what you can do is you can find out, you can get alerts right to your phone as soon as your keyword starts ranking, where it goes up and everything. The fact of the matter is though, a keyword, as long as you're using the right keyword strategies and you're going after the right keywords, you will start to rank very quickly in a relative sense. you can start seeing progress in as little as about 2 months. And by 6 months, you'll have seen some real progress. Again, it's a little bit of a trial and error thing as well. And that's, just to be real about it, that's why you don't just chase after one keyword. Usually you want to go for a cluster of different keywords, maybe all around the same kind of topic. So maybe you do want to go after BMW garage and BMW repair shop, and also fix my BMW, or anything kind of in that. So it's kind of like, it's almost like managing a stock portfolio, right? You don't just put all your money in one stock. The idea is you try a bunch of different ones, and in aggregate, something will work, and hopefully all of them will work. Does that answer your question?
Let us know if that was helpful, Anjali. Awesome. Okay, cool. We had a question earlier from Shakir. Does SEM activity hamper or delay the SEO process? So this is pretty much a twig pick between both of you.
Yeah, I would say, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say absolutely not. And in fact, I think it's going to complement one another. Dan, you can let me know from the SEO side if you think that it would negatively impact you at all.
No, in fact, one of the reasons that we're on this webinar is because Digitalina and my agency play very nice together because of this very fact. Look, at the end of the day, the best thing you can do for your business is do both. And it really helps because in the long run, SEO is the much better strategy. But again, in the long run. So the idea is it's not going to help your business tomorrow, whereas ads can. In fact, I know situations where Alina has been running ads and gotten people a client, maybe like day 1 or day 2. Whereas SEO is one of those things where a lot of times our clients will 3-4 months down the line be like, are you sure this is working? And we'll say, yes. And then 6 to 7 months down the line, they're like, oh my God, we're getting more organic leads than we are through advertising. So again, it's best to do both at the same time so you cover both of your bases. And it's never really there's never really a time to stop either one. You can just keep moving towards it and keep building it out. It keeps paying dividends more and more.
Just like Dan said too, it's when your organic leads or your organic conversions start outranking SEM in a certain area, then you know that maybe you can use SEM to shift focus elsewhere. So you try pushing a different category or service or product, or testing out new ideas or offers. So there's always this sort of shifting strategy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And if I can add as well, so for those companies or products that you're relying on aggregators, for example, Mom's World and the kinds, these big aggregators definitely win on the SEO play. But if you're an individual producer of a product and you want to drive traffic to your website, that's where SEM can actually help you divert some traffic back to your own business as well. So utilizing the SEO power of the aggregator side that you're on. So insurance market, service market, property finder, these are aggregator websites. They have really strong SEO presence. They're always in the top. And if you want to bring your customers directly to you instead of the aggregators, you combine that with SEM as well.
And if you are on aggregators, just like Naeem said, I would highly recommend just a brand campaign for you. So, let's say you have a widget, okay, as a product, you're called Widget ABC Company, and you retail on Amazon, on Mom's World, on Spree, First Cry, all of these different websites, on Namshi, and people are Googling your product. If all those other aggregator and online retailer websites are going to show up first, barely anyone's actually going to go to your website, even though they're searching for you. So it's very important, if you are on those aggregators, have a brand campaign for Widget ABC. So at least as an ad, you're showing up first, and you're then outranking all of those aggregators, and you're getting more direct sales without having to take that cut or give a commission.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Let's go in the time order of the questions that we are asked. Let's see. I think we have Reem next. She's asking, can you please show us how to backlink? So Dan, if you could explain that. I don't think you can properly show it, but maybe you can talk
Let
about that.
let me share my screen for a minute. I think I can answer this question two ways.
Yeah.
So the first thing is that, so this is, I'm just going to our website. I'm going to show you one of our blogs and kind of how one of the things that we're doing right now. So right now we're actually, believe it or not, we write about this stuff too. So these are two articles that we just put out. One is called The 3 Best Strategies for Building a Content Hub. Now, a content hub is basically an advanced SEO strategy, but the simple version of it is it's a lot of blogs about the same thing, right? Not the exact same thing, but for instance, this is kind of meta, but we're blogging about how to best do SEO a bunch of different ways in order to generate SEO for us. And I know that sounds kind of, that might sound complicated, but it's basically a bunch of interrelated blog posts. So for instance, this one came first, 3 best strategies for a content hub. The next one, how important are the right keywords for SEO content hubs? You guys can actually read these articles. I think it would help you to understand it a little better. But if you'll notice, we go into this blog post, and what ends up happening is, once it loads up, is that within the blog post, we have links right here, right? So these are the hyperlinks that we have in there that everyone puts in blog posts. But we do something special, which is we do internal backlinking, which is one of the ways we can do it, where by clicking this link, you're going to go back to my original post. So the idea is that you create a series of backlinking on your own website, which shows Google that, oh, these ideas are all interrelated. It's called a content cluster. And it's basically by connecting all of your blogs in a certain way through linking to each other, you're able to build what's a backlinking basis for everything that you do on Google. So that's one thing that you can do internally to get started, and it can be very effective if done right. If you want to know more about it, definitely something we can talk about, or you can go to our website and read these articles, because we're starting a campaign to explain this very thing. So that's one thing that you can do. On the other side of it, one of the bigger, more, let's say, complicated elements of it is when it comes to outside backlinks. This is where you get a lot of traction. Now with Sem Rush, what you'll find is that you can take any sort of website that you want, right? Like if you take the Swiss tourism one, I'll give you a domain overview. These guys have 7.5 million backlinks, which is a ton. And you're not probably going to get anywhere close to this. But they're also one of the most authoritative websites out there. But the idea is that basically any website that links back to them produces a backlink. So if we're just looking at it, right, you have all of these other tourism sites. You have this one called Flimlax. Obviously, I think this is either in French or German or Italian, but whatever it happens to be. But if you'll notice, or here's this, the Wikipedia page backlinks to them, right? And so this is really powerful for these guys because they're getting all these other sites that have a link the same way we have links in our blogs that will backlink to them and say, hey, this is a trustworthy thing. One more I could show you is, let's see if this comes up. So here's another one. So I have a few articles on Entrepreneur. The nice thing about this is that they actually link back to Tailored Ink through my linkings and everything, right? So because of that, I have a backlink. Our website has a backlink from Entrepreneur from an article that I did, which boosts us up as well. So backlinking can come a lot of different ways. It can come simply from other websites that put you up, but you want to go for some of the big websites if you can, because those backlinks are going to be the most powerful. I hope that wasn't too long-winded. Does that make sense?
It was super.
Oh, yeah.
Wait till I get a response. But just to move on to the next question, I'm going to batch a few of these up because they're talking about the same thing, and I'll read the different versions of that for both of you guys. Can we say that startups can work with SEO and established companies with deep pockets can choose SEM? So it's a budget related question. Karen's asking the same thing. How do you go about finding the right budget for both? And Shabrish wants to know also, what is a minimum budget to start Google Ads in order to get more results and more traffic?
Okay.
So how do you guys think about budget? Maybe Alina, you can go first.
I can start off and then Dan can sort of chime in. In terms
Oh, Alina, I can't actually hear you right now.
Okay, sorry. Kartik, I'm just going to address your question first. So, of course, it depends on your budget, but honestly, I would say, and again, I'm biased when it comes to SEM per se, but I don't think there's any harm with a startup going for SEM in the beginning, as long as you are very careful with how you approach your Google Ads. So you're just being very careful in terms of let's say your strategy. I would say, you know, if you are services, I would definitely do a lead generation campaign and not just sort of blindly drive to your website. I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes. I think it comes down to, let's say, your bid strategy as well. A lot of people make the mistake of just going for maximized clicks, and that will burn money really, really fast. When it comes to Google Ads, I would go for a manual bidding strategy in the beginning where you can choose your cost per click, the minimum that you are willing to bid for someone to click on your ads. So I think as long as you have those controls in place, so manual CPC strategy, if you have something very specific you're offering, driving people to a targeted landing page or sales page that will be profitable and bring a return back to you versus blindly going to a website, I would do it. I would add in a ton of negative keywords to be very careful and not wasting your budget. So I think there is a place for SEM with startups. So yeah, it depends. I mean, if you have zero budget, you have zero budget. What can you do? But if you have a little bit to play with, then yes, I would say try it out. Just be very careful. Okay, in terms of what's the minimum budget to start Google Ads? So it's one of those how long is a piece of string kind of questions, but because it's going to depend on your industry and your like what the estimated cost per click is in the industry. It's also going to depend on, well, how much money are you making off a person? You know, if you are making 20,000 dirhams off of one client, maybe spend a bit more if you know that, you know, just that one client's going to bring in a lot of money for you. What we say with clients is minimum of 2,000 to 3,000 dirhams per month is a good place to start. So that's what I would say over the month, and then you sort of take it from there and you build up, if that makes sense. And then per campaign, so the other thing too is the more you're gonna get more learnings, the more you spend on something. You can either learn really, really slowly by spending like 10 dirhams a day, or if you were to spend the couple hundred or 200 dirhams, you know, per day, that same learning, you'll just get so much faster. So it's sort of that trade-off as well. And then per campaign, I would say at least like, you know, $5 to $10 per day minimum, or what is that, around like 30, 40 dirhams per day per campaign, I think is a nice place to start. Less than that, it's just, you're kind of dragging your feet. Karen's question, how do you go about finding the right budget for both? So again, you can sort of start with that minimum type of budget I mentioned, but you also have to kind of work backwards based on your conversion rates, based on whether you're a service or a product. So, you know, if you're a service-based business, out of 10 leads or out of 5 leads, how many do you genuinely close? Okay, so then if you're closing 1 out of 5, then what is your profit, you know, for getting one person? Then you divide that profit by 5 people. If it's 1 in every 5 and you make $100, then you know, okay, divide that $100 by 5. So that's how much your cost per lead should be. It should be $20 per lead is what I'm expecting to at least break even, if that makes sense. So you kind of have to work backwards and know your conversion rates. And if you don't know them yet, test it out.
Yeah.
You're gonna find out, right? As soon as you keep going. I think I answered all.
Yeah,
Oh
you
no,
did.
sorry, Reem's question too. Can I answer that one?
No, it's not about budget.
Okay, it's not about
Yeah.
this, then I will stop. Is there anything that
I think Dan, if you want to mention, how do you look at budget when it comes to SEO?
What I would say for SEO is, and I hate to be advocating against myself here, but here's the thing. If you are hungry for business right now, obviously go with advertising first, right? Because the ROI is immediate and direct. And that's the beautiful thing about it, right? It's kind of like, it's the difference between, fast food and cooking up burgers at your house on your back grill, right? You can go to McDonald's right now and grab a burger, right? It'll take you all of 3 seconds. That's all you need to do. But you want to go home, you want to make like a nice burger, you want to like take your time with it, maybe ultimately more satisfying, but it's going to, again, take more time. So what you need to do is ask yourself what your time frame is, right? Because SEO is an investment, a long-term investment, whereas SEM is a short-term investment. So the question that's how I would ask it is, do I have some extra money that I can set aside for the next 6 months to a year and do a slow, meaningful strategy to build up that will return and pay dividends over the next few years? Or am I trying to get this over the line quickly? We typically recommend about 5,000 dirhams per month for a proper SEO campaign. That's usually a good starting price. And the reason is because eventually, and also it depends on your client base and what you're trying to accomplish. For some, it can be a little bit less. For some, it can be a crazy amount more. It's also about how hard your keywords are to actually get over the line. What's nice about being in Dubai is that in Dubai, you have the advantage of a smaller marketplace. There's less competition. And because of that, if your service is very localized, you can do a lot of stuff with keywords, blah, blah, blah in Dubai or near me. And you can really make some progress on this front. If your service is more global, it's a longer conversation. But that's kind of what I would allocate, if that makes sense.
Cool. Thank you. We have a few more questions, guys. I think we're happy to hang around for a few more.
Yeah,
You guys are good.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan?
Oh, sorry. I said I'm in no rush. Yeah, take your time, guys. We're here.
Great. I'm just going to go in the chronological order of how the questions were asked as well. So I'm going to flip a coin and pick between Anjali and Reem. All right, we got Anjali.
You know what? I actually think I had a look at both their questions. They're quite similar and I can answer both.
Yeah, do it.
So I know, Anjali, you said, and thank you for being patient. You said that you have a campaign running across 5 countries in the past 2 months, including the UAE. And so far you have never seen any ad pop up for various searches that we're trying. What's going wrong? And Reem has also asked, how does one ensure that you get your ads to show up on the first page by using paid keyword ads? So the answer to this is exploring something called Google Ad Rank. Essentially, there's a number of factors that Google will look at when determining whether to show your ad on the search engine's results page and how to actually rank it. Like, is it going to be number 1, number 2, or number 3? I would suggest you check out the ad rank formula, but in a nutshell, the first contributing factor is your bid. So remember how I was talking about how you can bid per click? So if someone has outbid you, let's say their ad is just as good with the same level of keywords, they're just as relevant, but their bid is like twice as yours, then they're going to show up. It's like an auction. Essentially, if they're bidding higher, they're going to show up. A second factor that Google will calculate to decide whether you should be ranked higher is your user experience on the website. So take a look at your website, at your landing page experience. Is it user friendly? Is it SEO friendly? What is the speed, the load time? Do you have things like a privacy policy on there? Do you have your phone number, your address? All these things matter because Google wants to make sure it's showcasing people who are more credible first and foremost. So if your site seems a bit sketchy versus someone who looks like, you know, CNN or BBC or some amazing website, they're going to show them next or first or give them priority. Now, the third thing that you want to consider is your actual ad relevance, which is things like, well, how many of the search term keywords are actually showing up in your ad? So if someone is looking for BMW garage repair, have you written BMW garage repair in your headline? Have you written more peripheral similar keywords in your actual ad text as well? How well written is your ad? You know, if it's kind of broken English and just random words, then maybe it's not going to show up versus something that's actually written very well and is sort of a better experience for someone to click on. So those are all the different factors that Google is playing in mind. So right now, Anjali, if yours isn't showing up, I would say look at your bid strategy, look at what the cost per click usually is in your industry. You can sort of Google that and see if it works if you bid a bit higher, but look at your website experience, see if you can do better copywriting for your ads, see if you're actually including those keywords as well in there. And also just make sure on a side note, if someone else is running those Google ads for you, just check with them that they haven't excluded your IP address. Because what a lot of people will do is just marketers, when they set up ads, they'll exclude the IP address of the company itself so that no one accidentally from their own company clicks on those ads and wastes money. So just make sure to. I hope that helps.
All right. Thanks, Anjali. Reem, I hope that helped as well. All right. I don't think we have any more questions. Oh, wait. I think we have one from Barbara. Is there a difference in using the hashtag and a comma? Does that make a difference?
And for what? I'm sorry, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
For SEO or for SEM? Like in the text? Sorry, just not sure, Barbara. Let us know.
If you could clarify that question.
Cool.
Apart from that, I think we're good.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining. We did have a few people drop off. Oh, she says for SEO.
Dan,
over to you.
So sorry, I'm still a little confused in terms of the question. Typically speaking, usually using a hashtag is a good social media strategy because you get in front of people who are talking about that similar topic. But for blog posts and such, it's not usually so useful. I would recommend the only time that you would do it is on the back end when you're adding meta tags, but that's not the most important thing in the world these days, although it can still be helpful. That's another advanced SEO thing, but it's small picture, not big picture. But if you want to know more and you have some questions, please reach out to me. We could definitely talk this through more.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. All right, super stuff, both of you guys. Just to give you guys Alina and Dan's contact information as well, so you guys can reach out to them if you have any questions. I'll just pull them up over here so you can note them down. If you can see them on the screen, it's dan@taylor.inc, which is a very cool domain name and a great website too. If you guys just want to see a beautiful website, they have a new one out. And Alina's at hello@digitalina.io, so do come by, say hello. For us, you can follow Digitalina on Instagram too. We're sharing what we did in this webinar over our days and weeks. We share tips and tricks for advertising in general. So you can go ahead and follow us there. Dan, is there any place that they can follow you or keep up with you?
Yeah, so I'm a bad marketer in the sense that I've been off social media on a personal level for a while, but I just got back on Twitter @TailoredDan is my handle. So please feel free to follow me @TailoredDan. And yeah, guys, ask questions. Look forward to hopefully hearing from some of you guys, and hopefully these were good tips for you.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Shobha. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Shakir.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Reem.
It's nice chatting to
Thanks,
you.
Anjali.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Over and out.
Take care.